I had the chance to experience a limited-time superpower with my college roommate. She quickly chose the red pill, which could increase the opposite sex's affection for her. I had to settle for the blue pill, gaining double time, but it only worked on myself. 10 years later, when the superpower trial period ended, we reunited at a class reunion. I became the CTO of a top tech company, while she was schemed against and abandoned by her wealthy in-laws, reduced to working as a cleaner in a hotel. She stabbed me in a frenzy, dragging me back to the day we had to choose the pills, both of us reborn. This time, she snatched the blue pill first, gloating as she prepared to watch me repeat her downfall. What she didn't know was that from the very beginning, the red pill was the one I truly wanted. My roommate and I were reborn together. Returning to the day we had to choose the pills, the mysterious man opened his palm, pointing at the 2 pills in his hand, and was about to explain. The superpower of the red pill is, Nancy snatched the other blue pill and swallowed it, licking the corner of her lips in relief. I know, the red pill increases the opposite sex's affection for you, while the blue pill grants double time, but only works on yourself. She turned to look at me, beaming with pride. Relying on men always comes with the risk of being abandoned one day, but the time you gain is your own. Don't you agree, Taylor? In our previous life, when Nancy and I were choosing the pills, she snatched the red one before I could. Soon, she maximized the affection levels of the men around her, attracting a swarm of admirers. Some helped her with homework, some bought her flowers and snacks, and some even showered her with houses, cars, and luxury goods. In the end, she chose to marry the wealthiest heir among her classmates, using him as a stepping stone to meet even more affluent and influential partners. After 3 divorces, she, coming from a humble background, successfully married into a wealthy family, becoming sensational news for a time. As for me, I took that blue pill and gained double the time. I wasn't exceptionally smart, so I had to rely on the extra time to study hard, pursuing a master's degree and then a PhD. All the way, I barely became a genius by studying twice as hard as others, was recommended by my mentor to work at a top-tier tech company, and then, by putting in double the working hours, helped the company overcome numerous technical challenges, eventually becoming the chief technology officer. 10 years later, the superpower vanished. I had already accumulated enough achievements and wealth, gaining both fame and fortune, and no longer needed to spend time striving desperately. Nancy's husband, however, immediately lost interest in her and left her with a divorce agreement. Her mother-in-law, who had long disliked her, skillfully ensured she didn't get a single penny, forcing her to leave with nothing. After a decade as a wealthy wife, she had lost the ability to support herself and could only work as a cleaner in a hotel. At the class reunion, I ran into Nancy again. Bitter from life's hardships, she pretended to be wealthy but was exposed, and in her humiliation, she grew resentful of me, who was the center of attention. If only I had taken that blue pill back then. Under the guise of toasting, she plunged a fruit knife into my heart. Before losing consciousness, her venomous curse echoed in my ears. Taylor, you stole my life. Ignoring Nancy, I picked up the remaining red pill and swallowed it. The duration of the superpower is 10 years. Good luck to both of you. The mysterious figure bowed and vanished into thin air, leaving Nancy and me back in our dorm room. Our other 2 roommates were out for class, leaving just the 2 of us in the dorm. Isn't it just about studying with double the time, Taylor? I'm smarter than you. In her previous life, Nancy had meticulously studied the media reports about me and knew every detail of my journey to the pinnacle of success. This time around, she plans to follow in my footsteps and replicate my success. She is very confident. In terms of intelligence alone, she is indeed a bit smarter than me. I smiled without refuting. If Nancy wants to endure the hardships of studying, let her go ahead. What she doesn't know is that in my past life, what I truly wanted was that red pill all along. The favor of the opposite sex can bring not just love, but also resources and benefits. Nancy in her previous life also understood this principle, but she was too foolish. She kept searching for more powerful men to attach herself to, becoming the enviable trophy wife, yet she never made long-term plans or thought to secure the leveraged resources and benefits for herself. Even after being reborn, she still failed to grasp this truth. It was the first semester of her junior year, and final exams were just around the corner. Roommates are all cramming for exams, only Nancy is taking it easy, because she has twice the time to spare. As for me, I must improve my efficiency. I went over my plan in my head at night, and got up early the next morning to study at the library. I've pretty much forgotten everything I learned in college in my previous life, so picking it up again is a bit of a struggle. To speed things up, I used my superpower to slightly increase the favorability of Bruce, the top GPA student in our class, toward me. When increasing favorability with the opposite sex, you can actually control the degree. In my previous life, Nancy always maxed out the favorability, enjoying the obsession and pursuit from the opposite sex, but I only need a little bit, just enough for Bruce, who I'm not very close with, to be willing to spare an hour during lunch break to help me with the problems I encountered in my morning review. My other roommate Lisa happened to see Bruce and me studying together in the cafeteria. She took a photo and posted it in the dorm group chat, tagging me with a Doge emoji. Be honest, did you land a sugar daddy or is there something going on? The third roommate, Luna, also sent a dog emoji. Before I could reply, Nancy had already started with her sarcastic remarks. Oh, so you've already gotten close to Bruce. Why don't you share your good brother's notes with us? In his past life, Brother Bruce was also one of Nancy's simps, doing all her homework for her. When she couldn't find a guy to take her final exams for her, Nancy had to cram at the last minute. Her study materials were the notes Brother Bruce had painstakingly compiled, but she never shared them with us. Lisa had also considered borrowing notes from Brother Bruce, but the Nancy brainwashed Bruce replied, "My notes are only for Nancy to see." Lisa was so angry that she secretly cursed them as a shameless couple for 3 days. The friendly relationship between Lisa and Nancy was thus broken. Later, I shared my notes with them for reference, and both of them helped me supplement many important details. Except for Nancy, we actually got along well in our dorm, and we still kept in touch occasionally after graduation. Nancy tried to stir up trouble in the group chat, but I didn't care and just shared the notes I had taken. I don't have his notes, but you're welcome to look at mine. Lisa and Luna both thanked me, but Nancy was unhappy. You're so close, who believes you don't have his notes? Besides, what's the use of your notes anyway? I fired back without hesitation. If it's useless, then don't look at it. Nancy sneered. Fine, I won't look. Who do you think you are, Bruce? Ever since the rebirth, Nancy had been harboring a determination to prove herself better than me. We used to have similar grades, but after gaining superpowers, I studied even harder, rising to the top of the class and securing a recommendation for graduate school. This was the beginning of my success in my past life. Nancy, on the other hand, learned to reap without sowing. Her ambitions lay elsewhere, barely scraping by with low exam scores. This time, she had double the time and was determined to study hard, at the very least to surpass me in grades. But Nancy hadn't put in effort for 10 years. She had long forgotten how to work hard. Even with double the time, she would scroll through her phone or snack mindlessly. The exam was approaching, and she finally started to panic, cramming intensely for a few days. Perhaps the double amount of time gave her double the confidence. Before entering the exam hall, Nancy glanced at me disdainfully. Taylor, a man won't help you pass the exam. My mind was preoccupied with more important matters, so her words went in one ear and out the other. Let her scream if she wants to. It won't bother me anyway. Before the winter break, the class monitor posted the final grades in the group chat. Nancy indeed did well on the exam. When I returned to the dorm in the evening, the moment I stepped inside, I heard her dramatically reading out my score. Hey, Taylor, you're out early and back late every day, with Bruce teaching you hands-on, and you've only just managed to pass. She became even more convinced that my success in my past life was all due to the superpower of having double the time. I ignored her. The exam scores were already within my expectations, because I only studied in the mornings every day, spending my afternoons and evenings on market research. Asking Bruce for advice was just to ensure I could pass the exams and graduate smoothly. After being reborn, the moment I swallowed the red pill, I abandoned the path of chasing grades. With no natural talent to begin with, why obsess over academic advancement? One must learn to leverage strengths and avoid weaknesses. My greatest advantage lies in boosting the opposite sex's favorability toward me. A little goodwill can help me gain many resources that were out of reach in my previous life. I decided to start my own business. After finishing the final exams, I devoted myself wholeheartedly to my career. In the morning, I had a badminton match scheduled with the student council president, and at noon, I had lunch with a junior from the art department. In the afternoon, I accompanied a senior from the computer science department to code at a cafe, and in the evening, I went to the bar entrance to stake out the rich kids from off campus. The campus isn't that big. And Nancy ran into me a few more times. She was convinced that, just like in her past life, I was trying to climb the social ladder by cozying up to men. Every time I returned to the dorm, she couldn't resist making snide remarks. Taylor, your taste in men isn't great either. What kind of guys are you picking? Even I wouldn't bother with them. Nancy's criteria for choosing men in her past life had only two standards: handsome or wealthy. Oh, and there was also Bruce, the handy tool of a man. I gave a cold glance at the pile of study materials covering her desk. After the exams, Nancy's motivation to study plummeted. She keeps saying every day that she's going to the library, but ends up sleeping until the afternoon, eating while binge-watching shows, and only pretends to glance at her study materials in the evening. At this time in my previous life, I had already contacted a professor to join a research group and start experiments. Nancy, since you have so much time, you might as well eat a few more bites. Maybe it'll help you grow some brains. Taylor, Nancy's face turned red as she shrieked like a boiling kettle. I couldn't be bothered with her, so I turned to Luna, who had just finished blow-drying her hair, and asked, Luna, do you know a really impressive senior from the computer science department? Could you introduce me? I need his help with something. Oh, are you talking about Nathan? Sure, I'll let him know first. As soon as Luna took out her phone, Nancy immediately perked up. Luna, aren't you secretly crushing on Nathan? Aren't you afraid Taylor might steal him from you if you introduce them? Having her feelings exposed in public, Luna's fair cheeks flushed with a hint of pink as she looked at the two of us in distress. I never bothered with Nancy because I didn't want to waste my precious time on someone like her. But since she's interfering with my career, don't blame me for not being polite. I picked up a glass of water and splashed it on Nancy's pretty face. Wash that romantic obsession out of your head, will you? Her eyes widened in shock, and she froze for a few seconds before finally reacting. She lunged at me with her claws out, only to trip over the table leg and take a hard fall. Nancy, with water dripping from her face, called her counselor in the middle of the night to demand justice, rubbing her bruised knee. She looked pitifully at the teacher and said, Teacher, Taylor is bullying me in the dorm. She deliberately splashed water on me and pushed me to the ground. Look, I'm all bruised like this. In her previous life, Nancy had a close relationship with the counselor. Her name was always on the list of award nominees sent from the class to the college, which stirred up a lot of controversy. Everyone said the counselor was blinded by favoritism, but only I knew the real reason. Our professional counselor is a man. Nancy was so angry with me that she was dizzy and instinctively thought he would unconditionally take her side as before, forgetting that in this life, she had chosen the blue pill. The awakened counselor called us into the office, his voice thick with exhaustion. Taylor, what's going on? I looked apologetic. Sorry to disturb you, teacher, it's all a misunderstanding. I accidentally spilled water on Nancy, and she tripped over herself when she stood up. I thought it was a minor issue and didn't understand why she got so upset. Nancy let out a piercing scream. You clearly splashed me on purpose. I can call the other roommates to testify. I looked straight into the counselor's eyes and slightly nudged up his favorability toward me. Teacher, how about this? You go back and rest early. I'll apologize to Nancy. The counselor yawned and nodded in satisfaction. Between roommates, it's all small matters. Hurry back now. He stood up, signaling it was time to leave. Nancy, be more generous. Don't fuss over such things with your classmates. Teacher, Nancy wanted to say something more, but upon meeting the counselor's impatient gaze, she suddenly fell silent. On the way back to the dorm, she shot me a venomous look. Taylor, you're despicable, just you wait. Nancy's breakdown put me in a good mood. Some people only allow themselves to use privilege to encroach on others' interests. I haven't even achieved 1/10,000th of what she did in her past life, yet she's already gnashing her teeth in anger. Really, serves her right. For a while after that, I was so busy I barely touched the ground. I'd leave at dawn and return to the dorm just before lights out, collapsing into bed the moment I got back. I didn't have much contact with Nancy, and she quieted down after a few days. After pulling an all-nighter to finish the initial product, I tiptoed back to the dorm in the morning and slept until noon. Half asleep, I heard Nancy's voice. Taylor spends all her time fooling around with different men outside. I heard from a student council friend that she makes money from it. Luna hesitated. That can't be right. Harry said they've been working on a project recently. Taylor scoffed. You actually believe what a man says? I warned you last time. Nathan spends all day with her, and you, how long has it been since you last saw him? Lisa and Nancy have never gotten along. Don't spread baseless rumors about others. Nancy raised her voice. Rumors? Look at all those unopened luxury cosmetics on her desk. Could she afford those before? I opened my eyes and yanked the bed curtain aside. Nancy, are you an arthropod? Always chirping like a cricket. Luna looked embarrassed. Taylor, you're in the dorm, we thought you'd gone out in the morning. Nancy was all tough talk. Who knew you'd be shameless enough to hide in bed eavesdropping? I glanced at the time, too lazy to argue with her, and hurriedly climbed out of bed, washed up, grabbed my laptop, and rushed downstairs. Lucas was waiting for me outside the dorm. Why are you so slow? We're going to be late. He was tall and strikingly handsome, drawing frequent glances from passing girls. Wait here. I'll get the car. Lucas's roaring Ferrari pulled up beside me, attracting a crowd of onlookers. I glanced up at the building and caught a glimpse of Nancy's half-hidden face peeking out, under her knife-like gaze. I opened the passenger door of the Ferrari and got in. On the second day after my rebirth, I signed up for a cultural entrepreneurship project organized by my school in collaboration with the city's Intangible Cultural Heritage Museum, aimed at promoting traditional leaf carving. I decided to develop a mini-program game, with the entire visual design mimicking the style of leaf carving. Actually, I had this idea in my previous life, but at that time, I had no technical skills or artistic knowledge, no resources or connections, so I gave up on trying. In this lifetime, relying on my superpower of boosting the opposite sex's favorability, I managed to trick two big shots into developing the program for free. Deceived a talented junior from the art school into doing the visual design without pay, and even convinced the student council president to provide us with a free office space. With this makeshift team assembled, we began our attempt. We were all college students struggling with living expenses, barely able to shoulder the initial investments, but my ambition goes beyond just completing a student project. I also want to invest in marketing and truly promote the game. The game has a unique art style and simple yet engaging gameplay. I believe it will definitely achieve commercial success. It promotes traditional culture while also earning the first pot of gold. However, the subsequent refinement of the game and later promotional efforts require substantial financial support. I set my sights on Lucas. He is the top rich second-generation heir at our school. In my past life, Nancy's first marriage was to him. This guy isn't short of money and has no interest in our project. No matter how hard I tried to persuade him, it was no use, so I had to use a cheat code to increase his favorability towards me. 1 second he was walking straight ahead with a cold expression, not interested. The next second he stopped, turned around, and a glimmer of interest flashed in his eyes. But go ahead, tell me about it. Lucas was thus dragged onto our pirate ship by me, with him on board. Our hardware facilities for program development were significantly upgraded, and our daily meals improved considerably. Everyone was in high spirits, and efficiency doubled. We signed up for the city's entrepreneurial project competition, and this afternoon is the final round. Lucas sped me to the scene in the nick of time. Under the gaze of countless eyes, I stepped onto the stage with a smile. The news of my winning the grand prize in the entrepreneurship competition was published on the school's official website. Meanwhile, an anonymous post titled, "Taylor actively seduced Lucas as the other woman," exploded on the school forum. Believe many people witnessed Lucas waiting for Taylor in his Ferrari outside the girls' dormitory a few days ago. Taylor's startup project was also financially supported by Lucas. Lucas has an official girlfriend, Susan, from the neighboring school. Many people there know they've been childhood sweethearts with a deep bond. Taylor has no shame, climbed into Lucas's bed, and became the other woman stealing someone else's partner. To add credibility, the post included a photo of me sitting in Lucas's Ferrari. The photo was clearly taken from a high angle, looking down. Soon, someone chimed in, yes, I was there that day and saw Lucas pick up Taylor with my own eyes." A student from a neighboring school came to join the gossip. "I'm from the school next door, and I can confirm, everyone at our school knows Lucas's girlfriend is Susan." Someone stood up for Susan. "Isn't Susan a stunning beauty? This woman looks so plain and ordinary. What does young Master Lin see in her?" Someone directly lashed out. "Being the other woman, how shameless." Someone questioned, "What's so unusual about business partners attending a competition together?" "Stop spreading baseless rumors," someone countered the previous comment. "Knowing he has a girlfriend yet still sitting in the passenger seat, isn't that clearly problematic?" This one was quickly clapped back. "Bro, this Ferrari only has 2 seats. If you're not sitting in the passenger seat, are you supposed to ride on the roof?" Someone else dropped a bombshell. "Check out the latest update on the official website. They released a group photo of the Taylor project team. She's the only woman on the team. I won't say what that implies." This reply immediately shot to the top, with someone commenting, "What did Taylor contribute to this project? Could it have been her body?" The rumors spread like wildfire, growing more and more outrageous. At the celebration banquet, I received a message forwarded by Lisa. Taylor, take a look at this. Even a fool could guess this was Nancy's doing. In her past life, she reaped the benefits of having a bunch of admirers, stole quite a few people's boyfriends, and naturally earned the ire of many girls. After Lucas and Susan broke up, it was the time she was criticized the most. In their previous lives, Lucas and Susan were deeply in love, and their families were already planning their engagement, but then he inexplicably fell in love with Nancy and insisted on marrying her, even threatening to die if he couldn't. The incident caused a huge uproar at the time. In the end, Lucas's family cancelled his engagement with Susan and reluctantly accepted this new relationship. Abandoned Susan fell into severe depression and jumped from a building late one night. The Susan and Lucas families, once close friends, became bitter enemies, severing many business collaborations. The Lynn family's reputation plummeted, and their fortunes declined steadily. Meanwhile, Nancy climbed another social ladder, leaving Lucas behind to remarry into wealth with great fanfare. It's said that after the divorce, Lucas continued to idolize Nancy as his unattainable love, desperately waiting for her return, but later, after Nancy was kicked out by her last husband, she went to find Lucas again. However, Lucas turned her away. Finally coming to his senses, feeling guilty toward Susan, he knelt outside the Lucas family's door every day, begging them to tell him where Susan's grave was, only to be driven away with sticks by the Sue family. Such love-hate entanglements among the wealthy have always been juicy gossip among alumni. No one could understand Lucas's sudden change in attitude, thinking he was bewitched. Only I knew that Nancy had used her superpower to max out Lucas's affection for her, forcibly taking him away. A match made in heaven was thus torn apart, leaving them as star-crossed lovers. The disgusting things Nancy did herself. She insisted on pinning on me. I sneered, put down my phone, picked up the drink in front of me, and lightly clinked glasses with the person beside me. Thank you for officially joining our team. The upcoming promotion work will rely on our collaboration. On the school forum, many people were waiting for updates on the Taylor as the other woman topic. Among them were quite a few students from other schools. That evening, someone posted a new thread titled, Miss Sue Speaks Out, which quickly rose to the top of the trending list. The post contained 2 screenshots from a social media feed. The first screenshot showed Susan publicly sharing a photo of us intimately holding each other's arms, captioned, "Had a great time collaborating with Taylor." The other screenshot featured Susan posting a picture of a leaf carving game scoreboard alongside a photo of a pile of luxury cosmetics and high-end electronics. Caption, "Taylor gave me this promotion task. How should I complete it? Feeling worried? Well then." The top 10 on the weekly game leaderboard will receive the rewards shown below in order. Come and participate, everyone. The top comment under the post was, "The actual person involved hasn't even said anything, don't know why some shady nobodies are jumping around making noise." The second most popular comment was, "Can someone tell me where to play this game? I want the prizes." That night, our mini program crashed 3 times due to the rapidly increasing number of players. I didn't even finish the celebration banquet before rushing our 2 tech leads back to fix the bugs. The leaf carving game quickly became a craze among college students, riding this wave of gossip-fueled popularity, eventually skyrocketing all the way to trending on social media. Hashtags like #addicted to leaf carving, #leaf carving art style, #high score leaf carving guide, and #leaf carving crashed again rapidly dominated the trending charts. Our whole team gathered in the office, utterly dizzy from this sudden overwhelming success. "You're amazing." I hugged Susan and took a deep breath. The beauty smells so good." Lucas stood aside, watching me with a smile. I found a moment to call him outside and got straight to the point. "I know you have feelings for me now, but trust me, this isn't truly what you want." I turned to look at Susan, who was beaming with pride and joy. "Actually, attraction and fleeting crushes are common in life, but you need to distinguish them. Love is a lasting heartbeat, reserved for that one special person." Lucas followed my gaze and seemed momentarily stunned. Surrounded by everyone, Susan was radiantly beautiful. "She is a very good person." Actually, before contacting Lucas, I had tried to reach out to Susan to join our team, but at that time, she hesitated for a while and politely declined. "I'm sorry. Thank you for the invitation, but I don't know anything." Unable to persuade her, I turned to manipulating Lucas instead, and then used Lucas to bring her on board. Susan, despite coming from a well-off family and being beautiful, has a weak temperament and lacks confidence. I once saw her at a club event at the neighboring school. She has a keen sense of perception when it comes to marketing, it turns out my judgment was correct. After Nancy spread rumors about me, Susan's first reaction wasn't to delete the post, but to let the buzz grow and then use it to market our game. Taylor, you'll just have to endure some criticism. Susan sounded a bit worried. I couldn't care less. My conscience is clear. I fear nothing. I hope this success will make her realize that life's value isn't just about love. There are many other kinds of brilliance. Even if Lucas eventually changes his heart, she can still live for herself. Consider this as a small compensation for secretly raising Lucas's affection toward me. After a long pause, Lucas nodded, as if relieved. What about that post? I gritted my teeth fiercely and flashed a wicked smile. The success of this promotion is all thanks to Nancy. In that case, let's give her a one-day tour of the police station. I publicly posted a response to this matter on the school forum. Thank you all for your support of the leaf carving project. The previous posts about me were false and involved defamation and infringement of my reputation rights. I have collected relevant evidence and submitted it to the police. Out of respect for the other party's privacy, I will not disclose the identity of the poster who maliciously attacked me. However, I hope she will recognize her mistake, delete the posts, and apologize. I also hope those who spread the rumors will take this as a warning. That said, the news that the police contacted Nancy through the school still spread like wildfire. The hot topic on the forum also became how scary it is to be slandered by a roommate. The leaf carving mini program quickly attracted a large number of advertisers and game companies with purchasing intentions. After discussing with the team members, I handed over the mini program to 2 senior tech guys to continue operating, with Susan in charge of management. The others receive a certain percentage of the profits annually. When I got my first payment, I counted the digits in my bank account balance and was overjoyed. With money in hand, I decided to move out of the dorm. Back in the dorm, I distributed the brand new luxury cosmetics Susan had given me to the other 2 roommates. Luna, thank you for helping me contact Nathan. I've checked him out for you. He's a good person with solid character. You have great taste. Keep it up. Lisa, thank you for speaking up for me. I've been leaving early and coming back late these past 2 days, which might have disturbed your rest. Please forgive the inconvenience. When I mentioned moving out, both of them seemed reluctant and even helped me pack my luggage. Nancy thought that attracting the opposite sex would inevitably lead to resentment and alienation from the same sex, but in the end, the reason she was disliked was because she abused her abilities, had low emotional intelligence, and a terrible personality. On the very day I moved all my things into the rental apartment, I received a public apology from Nancy. The information I posted about Taylor on the campus forum was fabricated. I sincerely apologize for the damage to her reputation. I swiped past the page, feeling nothing inside. The school adopted a conciliatory attitude and advised me to let the matter rest. I agreed, for no other reason. I plan to immediately embark on my next entrepreneurial venture. Unwilling to waste even a moment on worthless people, I don't have double time in this life anymore. I deeply feel that every second of life is so precious. I met Nancy again at a selection test more than half a year later. Top-tier scholars from prestigious foreign schools were invited to give lectures in the country and incidentally select students. His selection method was quite innovative. It was a game-like test. The test assesses short-term memory, computational ability, reaction speed, and more. In short, the game rules are highly favorable for those with the ability to double time. In my previous life, it was through this test that I caught the attention of a big shot and secured a full scholarship for further studies. Determined to replicate my Nancy, she would never miss this test, so running into her was expected. She looked at me with alertness and surprise. Taylor, what are you doing here? I found it somewhat amusing. I passed the application, so I came. She gave me a disdainful once-over. Do you really think you can win this time? Even if you can boost the professor's favorability toward you, the competition results can't be faked. I nodded in agreement, but whether I win or not isn't important. What matters is, can you win? Nancy looked utterly confident. We'll see. The game quickly began, and we each worked on our own answer devices. This time, without the boost of superpowers, I clearly felt my own mediocrity. Many fleeting images left only a vague impression in my mind. I didn't have time to remember anything, but compared to my full concentration in my previous life, this time I was much more relaxed, treating it as a game experience. I filled in the answers by guessing and piecing things together. Actually, Nancy never considered that my outstanding performance in this exam in my past life wasn't entirely due to superpowers. 6 months before the competition, I trained myself day after day. The brain can indeed be strengthened through repetitive training. Through double the effort in practice and cheating with superhuman abilities during the competition, I packaged myself as a genius who passed off fish eyes for pearls. For many years afterward, to avoid exposing my mediocrity, I studied diligently day after day, never slacking for a second. Even my advisor scheduled a meeting to talk to me, urging me to rest, enjoy life, and not be too mentally tense. You are a smart and hard-working student. The only thing you need to do is be kinder to yourself. He encouraged me like this, yet I felt utterly ashamed. The more geniuses around me, the more fearful I become, because I know my intelligence is fake. In 10 years, I will lose it. From what I know about Nancy, she would never practice diligently. Even with double the allotted time, she struggled immensely through this test. As it progressed, her face grew paler, and beads of sweat formed on the tip of her nose. When the test concluded, the first batch of elimination names soon appeared on the large screen. Taylor was prominently listed among them. Nancy looked at me with a provocative smile. She mouthed the words, "I won." I responded with a faint smile. She would never understand that I never intended to compete with her. That makes no sense. I came here to find someone. As batches of participants were eliminated, eventually only 2 people remained in the entire venue. On the big screen, one side displayed Nancy, while the other showed Sophia. Amidst the countdown echoing throughout the venue, the professor revealed the final result. Sophia, her score was far ahead of the rest. She is a true genius. In my previous life, I scored just 2 points less than her, and the professor made an exception to admit both of us. Countless moments of collaboration as fellow students under the same mentor left me in awe. The gap between me and a top-tier genius couldn't be bridged by doubling my time and effort, so after graduation, I gave up on continuing in academia and chose to enter the industry instead. But Sophia in her previous life didn't have it easy either. She proposed a bold research direction and worked hard on it for many years. Without research achievements to back her up, and being a Chinese woman to boot, very few were willing to invest in her project. She stumbled along with little financial support, pouring her heart and soul into it. It was a dark and endless road, where even she couldn't see the dawn, yet she abandoned everything and resolutely moved forward. By then, I had already graduated and started working at a company. She would occasionally call me to discuss her latest achievements and next steps. She painted a grand vision, saying that once the research was completed, we would strike out on our own and establish a company that would astonish the world. I would also joke that when I became the chief technology officer, I would definitely convince the shareholders to invest in your project. Later, I did become the chief technology officer, and she also achieved her final results. The moment her developed technology was unveiled to the public, it captured the world's attention. But she was no longer here when the early symptoms of cancer appeared. She was striving to overcome the final challenge. She worked tirelessly to the point of completely ignoring the pain in her body, missing the optimal treatment window. In the end, she finished typing the conclusion of her thesis from her hospital bed. In the acknowledgments, she wrote, "Thank you to my best friend Taylor for always believing in and encouraging me. I'm sorry, I have to break my promise, in this lifetime. The sole purpose of my entrepreneurship is to fully support her in achieving her dreams. I won't let that kind of regret happen again." Nancy was not selected. The moment she learned the result, she rushed to the stage and shouted at the professor, "Why wasn't I chosen when I came in second place?" The professor looked at her gently, shook his head, and said in broken Chinese, "Sorry, you didn't meet the standard. This isn't right. This isn't right." Nancy suddenly pointed at me in the crowd, her voice hoarse with desperation. "You clearly chose her back then." The professor turned to me, adjusting his glasses in confusion, and asked the person beside him in English, "What does she mean?" Perhaps she was crushed by the outcome, someone whispered. The organizers called security to escort the dazed Nancy out. After the selection ended, I waited outside the venue for young Sophia, just in time to witness her walking absent-mindedly, lost in thought, before she bumped straight into a lamppost. Flustered, she hurriedly apologized to it. Sorry, I burst out laughing. Sophia grimaced while rubbing the large bump on her forehead and looked at me. Then she started giggling foolishly along with me. I asked for her contact information. "I know you have a brilliant idea. Don't worry, go ahead boldly. I'll support you wholeheartedly." After some thought, I added, "including money." Her eyes brimmed with the unique clarity and naivety of her age as she gratefully grasped my hand. "Thank you, stranger." After a few seconds of contemplation, she hesitated and asked, "You're not a scammer, are you?" After Sophia went to gamble, I began to build my career. With Lucas and Susan joining as partners, I secured relatively ample startup capital. Then, leveraging my superpower of enhancing opposite-sex attraction, I managed to persuade a group of men to work hard for me. I began navigating various social circles, securing investments, taking on projects, building channels, streamlining supply chains, and doing everything possible to expand the market. I was just a business novice with little experience and background, and a young woman at that, but in this world where men hold the vast majority of social power and resources, my superpower makes me feel like a fish in water. The initial contempt, suspicion, and wariness would turn into unconscious admiration, anticipation, and a certain secret longing when I gently tipped the scales of favor, leading them to make risky decisions. Meanwhile, the team I built worked with me to streamline the supply chain, getting different projects up and running smoothly, gradually generating profits. I carefully controlled the level of favor enhanced by my superpower, doing my best to avoid unexpected troubles caused by excessive affection. Admiration turning into possessiveness and desire into intense craving may not necessarily be a good thing. Moving between men, I proved my capabilities time and again. Gradually, members of the opposite sex began actively seeking collaborations with me, and I no longer needed superpowers. Sophia also began her research on the project. With financial support and the residual memories of the project from my past life, she avoided many detours and made much faster progress. However, it was still difficult to see results in the short term. Her project was like a bottomless pit burning through money. The money I worked so hard to earn was poured in large sums, disappearing without a trace. Many well-known figures in the industry disapproved of my investment, calling it excessive optimism, reckless advance, and foolish extravagance. During the company meeting, someone also used this line to persuade me to give up. Even Sophia felt embarrassed and said, "Maybe we should put this on hold and focus on something else with more tangible benefits." I rolled my eyes hard. What do you all know? I'm a reborn woman, only I have witnessed her radiant brilliance in this world. In the 9th year of gaining superpowers, Sophia was just one step away from achieving a breakthrough. Meanwhile, my funds were nearly depleted. If I continued to push forward, the cash flow would break, and the company would face the risk of bankruptcy. To solve the funding challenge, I decided to initiate a new round of financing for Sophia's project. Once again, I activated my cheat codes and plunged headfirst into the financial world, navigating among elite men. At a critical moment, unfavorable rumors suddenly emerged in the market, tarnishing my company's image. The accusation that caused an uproar was gender discrimination. An anonymous poster claimed that over 81% of our company's management consisted of men. This proves that our company significantly discriminates against women in hiring and promotions, especially since the company's boss is a woman who is extremely charming and skilled at dealing with men. This adds a layer of ambiguous scandal to the public controversy. Some radicals have claimed Taylor, as an outstanding woman, has completely betrayed our entire female community. Under the fierce attack of public opinion, my financing plan is on the verge of collapse. Even if I can manipulate the favor of those elite men, a slight increase in goodwill is not enough to counterbalance the enormous risks. When it comes to interests, they become extremely rational, and if I set the favor too high, it would bring other risks. Nancy is a cautionary tale. Her second husband was a paranoid man. Nancy maximized his affection for her, leading him to believe he had developed intense love. After marrying her, he confined her, severed all her social ties, and cut off any contact with the outside world. She endured for a full 3 years before seizing an opportunity to latch onto another man who rescued her from the abyss. Thinking of Nancy, I suddenly felt a sense of familiarity with this public opinion crisis. It seemed to be her usual tactic. I sent people to investigate Nancy's recent activities while tracking the IP addresses of those opinion leaders. In the end, an interesting conclusion was drawn. Nancy was simultaneously managing multiple accounts specifically to steer this public opinion. After learning the truth, our company's PR director found it hard to believe this was the work of just one person. She's truly a master of time management, not even needing time to eat, sleep, or use the bathroom. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Nancy actually used her double-time superpower in this way, just to specifically trip me up, but her methods this time were much more sophisticated. She cited partial but real data, leading everyone to draw one-sided conclusions, making it hard for me to catch her out. At this critical moment, Sophia's research paper was finally completed and accepted by a top-tier journal. That night, we drove aimlessly for a long time. In a desolate wilderness, we sat on the car roof, drinking under a sky full of stars. Sophia, her eyes hazy with drunkenness, asked me, "Why do you believe so much that I can succeed?" holding my bottle. I swayed slightly and clinked it against hers. The crisp sound was carried far away by the wind, because I've seen it. What did you say? Sophia didn't hear clearly. I leaned close to her ear and shouted. I said, take care of your health and go get checked up right away. I held a press conference on the day Sophia's paper was published. In front of the cameras, I spoke slowly and firmly. The issue of gender disparity in the company's personnel composition was indeed my oversight. And for this, I sincerely apologize. In fact, during the company's early stages, I also extended invitations to many outstanding women, but with a startup, the risks were too high. Men are relatively easier to fool. This little joke eased the tense atmosphere in the room. Meanwhile, across live streams on the internet, many women who had received collaboration invitations spoke up to vouch for me. Yet more people questioned whether my words implied that women lack a spirit of adventure. A reporter posed this pointed question. I smiled and pressed the remote in my hand. On the large screen behind, Sophia and her latest paper published in a top-tier journal appeared. This morning, this achievement just shook the world. This is our company's most daring investment project, and in the future, it will also be our most successful one. Its core researcher and project manager is an outstanding woman. During her doctoral studies, she began her research project. 5 years passed, and she hadn't produced any results. No one believed she could succeed, except, of course, for me. I paused, then continued. All the profits our company has made so far, beyond what's needed to keep operations running, have been poured into this project. To date, there has been no return. Not long ago, someone even criticized my investment plan as overly optimistic, recklessly aggressive, and foolishly wasteful. The room erupted in laughter. The facts have proven that I succeeded. And so did she. Together, we will build an even greater company. I stared into the camera lens, the flash flooding my entire field of vision. To be honest, I must admit that my path to success wasn't entirely above board. In the beginning, I did rely primarily on men. To save time and remove obstacles, I used my superpowers to cheat, leveraging the resources in their hands. But it doesn't matter. The leveraged resources are in the hands of women. I promise here that our new company will ensure absolute equality between genders, promoting talent based solely on ability. At the same time, we will guarantee female employees full paid maternity and breastfeeding leave. Male employees must also take the same duration of paternity and breastfeeding leave to care for their pregnant wives and newborn children. Someone once told me to learn to enjoy life. Our company will reject the rat race. We hope every employee can balance life and work, finding the true value of their existence. A female journalist raised her hand high. She read out the question everyone was most concerned about in the live chat. Will a company like this really not go bankrupt? Amid the burst of laughter in the room, I shrugged helplessly. I'll do my best to prevent it from going bankrupt. 2 years later, my new company was completely on track. The CEO is an outstanding woman who manages the company in perfect order. I'm happy to be a hands-off boss and start traveling the world, enjoying life. In the 10 years of my previous life, superpowers were like a gift from heaven, but also like a curse. It helped me bridge the gap between an ordinary person and a genius, allowing me to access a whole new world. Yet the fear of falling behind drove me to sprint forward relentlessly, never once stopping to admire the scenery along the way. When my superpower vanished, I finally realized that the extra time had become my shackles and prison, but I am still grateful for it. At least it gave me a chance to pretend to be a genius. Several years later, while on vacation by the sea, I received a message from Lisa. She mentioned Nancy's recent situation. Hearing that name, I froze for a moment. I had almost forgotten her. How can a sparrow understand the ambition of a swan? The swan can't be bothered to listen to the sparrow's chirping. I couldn't even be bothered to think about revenge. With her personality, my success would be the greatest revenge on her. She will bring about her own destruction. Nancy indeed didn't surprise me. These past 2 years, Nancy has been acting like a madwoman, working as a cleaner in a hotel. She ran into Lucas and actually stole a room key to climb into his bed. She insisted that she was Lucas's one true love. Lucas had her thrown out onto the street, and that very night she jumped to her death. Hearing this, my heart stirred, and I asked where she had jumped from. I think it was that old shopping mall downtown. It's actually the same location where Susan jumped to her death in her previous life. As fate would have it, karma comes full circle. What about Susan? Susan had a falling out with Lucas because of Nancy. She suspected Lucas was cheating, left a divorce agreement, and ran off, judging by her social media posts. She's living it up carefree while Lucas is chasing after her all over the world. To be honest, Lucas is just unlucky to have run into a madman. Recalling their story from my past life, I replied, who knows. The conversation ended there. I lay in the slightly salty sea breeze, while Sophia beside me absent-mindedly sipped coconut water. She was so lost in thought that she forgot to swallow, then choked and coughed until her face turned red. I doubled over with laughter beside her. Such bright and beautiful days. May they never end. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. On the eve of the college entrance exam, my best friend got me a passing the exam talisman from the temple. That night, my deceased great-grandmother appeared in my dream. A top student like you still believes in superstitions. Wearing this damn talisman, do you think it'll bless you with a score of 280? Throw this filthy thing away right now. I trembled and asked, is there a chance that you, great-grandma, are also a filthy thing? Great-grandma scolded angrily. Someone has tainted things to harm you, causing you to fail the college entrance exam. I've run my legs off in the underworld just to save your life. Later, I indeed failed the college entrance exam. Meanwhile, my best friend became the top scorer of our year. In my depression, I fell from a high building. Just before dying, I found out my best friend had manipulated a spirit to swap my exam results. Reborn into this life, my great-grandmother came to me in a dream again. This time, I immediately knelt down and begged her to save me. Fine then. Your great-grandmother pulled some strings in the underworld to get things moving for you. Later, the connections my great-grandmother had arranged finally came through. There I stood, with white on my left and black on my right. 2 reapers stood guard by my side. First period of the afternoon in senior year, the homeroom teacher was announcing the rankings of this mock exam. I lived up to expectations and came in first again. Just after class, my best friend came up to me. Vivian, I'm so jealous of you. First place again. By the way, the other day I went to the temple and got 2 high school blessing charms, one for each of us. Let me bask in your academic brilliance so I can get into a good high school too. As she spoke, my best friend handed me a yellowish-brown triangular charm. I suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. I had actually been reborn. It was 1 week before the college entrance exams. My best friend Kathy was smiling at me. The yellow talisman in her hand was emitting faint wisps of black energy. In my past life, my best friend Kathy gave me exactly this kind of yellow talisman. That very night, my late great-grandmother appeared in my dream. She said I'd brought something unclean into the house that would harm me, and told me to get rid of it immediately. I thought this dream was rather ominous and wanted to remove the talisman. However, when my desk-mate Hank found out, he strongly advised against it, saying it was my best friend's heartfelt gesture and that removing it would be too unfriendly. At the time, I just thought the dream was a bit absurd and didn't take it seriously, but in the following days, I became completely dazed and disoriented. In the college entrance examination, I performed exceptionally well, but when the results came out, I, who had always ranked first, surprisingly scored only 280 points. Meanwhile, my friend Kathy, who had always been an underachiever, performed beyond expectations. She ended up becoming the top scorer of that year's college entrance examination. Afterwards, she comforted me by saying I could always try again next year. I was deeply moved and made a cake to celebrate for her, but then I found her secretly meeting with the boy I had a crush on at the rooftop, and I happened to overhear their conversation. Kathy said, that fool Vivian actually thinks I'm genuinely good to her. She doesn't even realize I used a little trick to swap her grades. How can someone like that be a top student? She's really just a fool. Why didn't you bring out such an amazing thing earlier? This whole thing is thanks to you. If you hadn't stopped her from removing that talisman, she wouldn't have been so obedient. Finally understanding everything, I rushed out angrily to confront them. Was it you who used dark magic to harm me? Weren't we supposed to be best friends? But Kathy looked at me with disdain. Can good friends put food on the table? Only by getting into Tsinghua or Peking University can I secure my future without worries about food and drink. Vivian, you're so naive. I'm going to report you for cheating. She laughed so hard she nearly doubled over. Who would believe you? As she spoke, a ferocious little ghost crawled out from the talisman on her neck, baring its sinister fangs and staring at me. I slipped and fell from the rooftop, meeting my end instantly. Meanwhile, Kathy used the honors my achievements brought her to attend a prestigious university with her crush, living out her perfect life. The memories ended, and I stared at the yellow talisman before me, never reaching out to take it. Kathy grew a bit anxious when she saw I wasn't accepting it. What's wrong? This is at least a token of my goodwill. If you don't take it, you're not treating me as a friend. At that moment, I was watching Kathy warily. I wasn't sure if this yellow talisman would take effect the moment I held it in my hands. I don't dare to touch it recklessly again. Suppressing my disgust, I deliberately said, "Aren't you trying to set me up? If I bring this thing into the exam hall and the invigilator decides I'm cheating, what then?" "Then, you can wear it these few days and just take it off during the exam. You're so insistent on me wearing this. Could it be something harmful?" I remained still. But my desk mate Hank saw it and couldn't help but say, "Just take it. It won't do any harm. My mom got one for me too. At least it's Kathy's kind gesture. You're being too heartless." I gave Hank a cold glance. In my previous life, it was him and Kathy who teamed up to set me up. He clearly knew what this thing was, yet deliberately made me wear it. Now I finally understand what his true intentions were. I figured if I didn't take this yellow talisman today, they would find some other way to force it on me. They're in the open while I'm in the shadows. This way I can better see what wicked schemes they're plotting. So I asked Kathy to put down the yellow talisman. When the two weren't paying attention, I carefully wrapped the thing in a tissue and returned home with a heavy heart. With the college entrance exams approaching, the homeroom teacher waved his hand and allowed those of us who lived nearby to go home to prepare, if I remember correctly. The night I got the yellow talisman in my previous life, my great-grandmother appeared to me in a dream. I have no other way to deal with this now, so I can only ask my late grandmother to send me a dream. Sure enough, as soon as I fell asleep that night, I was woken up by someone hitting me with a ruler. Looking up, I saw a little old lady with bound feet glaring at me coldly, furiously tapping my head with the ruler. Foolish, utterly foolish, a top student like you resorting to superstition. What's the point of wearing that ridiculous high school charm? To bless you with a 280 on the college entrance exam. Throw that filthy thing away right now. Tears welled up in my eyes instantly, and I immediately slid to my knees, kowtowing. "Great-grandma, you've finally come. Please save me." Even the great-grandma in my dream seemed a bit bewildered, nodding only after a long pause. "You're somewhat alert, I see. That yellow talisman was cursed, harboring a malevolent spirit. The moment you touched it, the spirit's dark energy latched onto you, draining your vitality relentlessly until nothing remains." My face turned deathly pale. My guess had been right after all. In my past life, my great-grandmother had warned me in a dream, but I didn't take it seriously. So what do we do now? I didn't touch that yellow talisman. Will I still be haunted by the little ghost? Great-grandmother put away the ruler and paced back and forth, analyzing the situation. "It's no use. That yellow talisman was cursed using your personal belongings. Even if you don't accept it, you'll still be affected. The person who's harming you is using a little ghost to devour your brain bit by bit. If you keep wearing that yellow talisman, a part of your brain will be transformed every day. After 7 days, your brain will be completely consumed by the little ghost." Hearing this, my heart turned ice cold. Is this really a dead end with no way out? Seeing me in low spirits, my great-grandmother couldn't help but sigh and patted my head. "Don't worry, you're the only promising scholar in 18 generations of our ancestors. Even if I have to run my legs off down there, I'll make sure to protect you." With that, my great-grandmother disappeared. Just when I thought even she couldn't help, she returned, now holding a smoking pipe and smacking her lips as she spoke. "Your great-grandmother has pulled some strings for you down there, so you can take the exam with peace of mind. What should we do with that talisman?" I asked cautiously. Granny grinned, whispering in my ear with a smile, "Listen to me, the thing wrapped in this yellow talisman is made from something of yours. Are you about to have your period in the next couple of days? I don't understand. The trick my great-grandmother taught me was pretty ruthless. She said that when a ghost seeks a host, it always feeds on the host's own blood. There are only 7 days left until the college entrance exams. The person who harmed me these 7 days must feed the little ghost every day. When she performs the ritual to feed the little ghost, I need to sprinkle menstrual blood on the yellow talisman to break the evil aura of the ghost. A woman's menstrual blood is considered a highly and impure substance. Using impurity to break an evil setup is just perfect." I woke up from the dream, drenched in sweat. Glancing at the yellow talisman on the table, I immediately ordered period-inducing medicine through delivery without a second thought. Though this trick is a bit underhanded and disgusting, it's nothing compared to what Kathy did to me. Early the next morning, I asked my elderly mother to offer incense and burn paper money to our ancestors, praying for my success in the college entrance exams. Not long after arriving at school, Kathy buzzed around me like a fly. She looked me over, taking in my changes, and then eagerly asked, "The high school charm I gave you, did you wear it? I heard from others that as long as you wear the high school charm while studying, everything you review these days will stick firmly in your mind." I sneered inwardly, but my expression remained unchanged. "Is that so? I've been wearing it without taking it off, just as you said," but in my heart, I was calculating. I had taken the medicine to induce my period, and my stomach was starting to ache faintly. Now, all that was left was to wait for Kathy to perform her ritual to nurture the little ghost. During morning self-study, I deliberately observed Kathy beside me. She was poking her fingers with a compass, then she broke the soy milk and fried dough sticks into pieces and threw them under the desk, muttering words under their breath. The soy milk and fried dough sticks fell to the ground and quickly disappeared. In a daze, I seemed to see a dark, slender figure crouching under her desk. She was indeed raising a ghost child. I was anxious, but my aunt hadn't arrived yet, so I couldn't break her spell. There was a mock test in the morning. Throughout, I was distracted, while Kathy, unusually, was very focused, as if possessed by the spirit of a top student. I squinted and saw what appeared to be an invisible black thread connecting her to me. When the test results came out, Kathy surprisingly scored 138 in math, while I, not in the best condition, only managed to get 102. Kathy was overjoyed, clutching her test paper and exclaiming, "High school talismans really work. My math scores actually improved this much." "It's not the high school talisman that's effective, it's your little ghost that's helping you, but if you want the fish to bite, you naturally need to put out bait." My expression was very unpleasant, and I kept my head down, pretending to be frustrated. Then I turned to Hank beside me and said, "Kathy has really woken up. Is that high school talisman really that effective? Maybe Kathy can actually get into the same school as me. Her family is wealthy, and if she gets into a good university, she'll probably have a lot of suitors." Hank likes Kathy simply because she's pretty and comes from a wealthy family. In my past life, Kathy and Hank used a little ghost to exchange my grades, but Hank didn't get any benefits at all. As soon as I said this, Hank's expression indeed turned unpleasant, because his test result was only 96 points. At that moment, he gave me a sinister glance and then said strangely, "Yeah, at this rate, who knows, she might even get into Tsinghua or Peking University." I patted him on the shoulder. "Don't worry, the high school charm is so effective. I can ask Kathy to get one for you too, then you can ace your exams, and we can go to the same university." My words seemed to strike a chord with Hank. He gave me a strange smile. "Then thank you for your kindness." Next was the Chinese language test. I still performed abnormally. Kathy continued to perform exceptionally well. At noon, I excused myself by saying I had a stomachache and slipped into the bathroom, only to find that my period had arrived. Without a moment's delay, I took out the yellow talisman Kathy had given me and dripped some menstrual blood onto it. The moment the menstrual blood touched the talisman, it sizzled loudly. A plume of black smoke emerged, suppressing the fear in my heart. I wrapped the yellow talisman in a plastic bag and placed it inside the toilet's water pump. Just as I stepped out of the bathroom, I saw two people lurking suspiciously at the corner of the hallway, seemingly engaged in an argument. Hank said, "That thing really works. You've scored well in 2 consecutive exams. It seems the little ghost has indeed stolen Vivian's brain." Kathy's tone grew increasingly smug. "I told you this thing works wonders. Just wait and see. 7 days from now, when the college entrance exams come, all the knowledge in Vivian's head will be mine, so you get the good grades. But what about me? I helped you, and I get nothing. Since we're stealing her results anyway, why not make me a charm too? If I score well on the exams, we can even apply to the same university." Unsurprisingly, Hank demanded to share my grades too. Kathy hesitated a bit and said, "I could, but my little ghost can only connect me and her at the same time. If we add you into the mix, I'm afraid the effect won't be as good." Hank sneered, crossing his arms and said, "I knew it. You want to get into a good university all by yourself and ditch me. If you don't include me in this, I'll go tell Vivian right away. When she loses that talisman, let's see how you'll perform your magic then." Kathy got anxious and agreed without hesitation, but to perform the ritual again, they needed something personal from me as a medium. During the afternoon nap, Hank indeed sneakily poked my arm. "Vivian, after the college entrance exams, we might not see each other often. How about we exchange something as a keepsake?" I pretended to struggle for a while before finally pulling out a red string bracelet and handing it to him. "This is a red string bracelet I made with my own hair, so it holds special meaning. If you don't mind, I'd like to give it to you." Hank took the bracelet, overjoyed. In the end, he gave me a fountain pen in return. I secretly laughed to myself. This bracelet was indeed woven from hair, but it wasn't my hair, it was Kathy's. In my previous life, just before the college entrance exams, Kathy had used our so-called best friend bond to ask for my hair, claiming she wanted to weave a bracelet. At the time, I didn't think much of it and asked for her hair in return to make an identical one. It wasn't long before Kathy brought back that yellow talisman for raising a ghost child. Presumably, the curse was cast using my hair. Now I'm just curious, now that Hank has taken Kathy's hair, will the curse rebound and affect Kathy herself in the following days? Whenever I noticed Kathy raising a little ghost, I would start using menstrual blood to break her spells. After several rounds of this back and forth, she became increasingly troubled, her complexion extremely poor, as if she hadn't slept for several nights. The way she looked at me also grew stranger and stranger. After class, she stopped me as I was about to head home. "Vivian, I noticed your forehead has been looking a bit dark these past couple of days. Have you encountered something unclean?" I sneered inwardly, as if she didn't know exactly what unclean thing I'd encountered. "Not at all, I've been wearing the talisman you gave me this whole time." Kathy sighed and said, "Just keep wearing it, that's a charm I got from the temple. It's been blessed and is very effective against unclean things." I felt extremely puzzled. Could it be that Kathy noticed something unusual that evening when I got home? I immediately lit 3 incense sticks in front of my great-grandmother's memorial tablet, silently praying for her to appear in my dreams. My parents were baffled by my unusual behavior. "Why have you been lighting incense for your great-grandmother so often these days? You never used to be this superstitious, sweetheart. Are you under too much stress?" I made an excuse about wanting good grades for the college entrance exam, then slipped into my room and quickly fell asleep, in my dazed state. I sensed a hunched little old woman standing by my bed. The old woman sat at my bedside with a pipe in her mouth and her legs crossed. I exclaimed excitedly, "Grandma, I've been following your instructions, dripping menstrual blood on the yellow talisman every day. Also, I gave Kathy's hair to Hank. Do you think Hank will use Kathy's hair for a ritual?" Grandma frowned and said, "I'm not entirely sure about this, but the little ghost Kathy keeps around doesn't seem ordinary. To completely sever its connection, we must find its remains." "Its remains?" Great-grandma continued. "Yes, those who keep captive spirits always possess the true form of the spirit. If you can't find this true form and liberate the spirit, even if you safely pass the college entrance exam, that spirit will haunt you for the rest of your life, leaving you no peace." Great-grandma sighed. "Listen to me. Tomorrow when you go to school, do this, then." "Great-grandma, I don't dare. They have little ghosts at their command. What do I have to fight them with?" Great-grandma snorted coldly. "What are little ghosts? You have me, your great-grandma. I have connections down below. Don't worry, when the time comes, I'll definitely lend you a hand." As she spoke, I suddenly felt a chill run through my entire body. A chilling aura instantly swept through my entire body. Grandma's face turned pale with shock. Before she could react, a withered little hand suddenly reached out from the darkness, grabbing at her ankle. There, a pitch-black little ghost was baring its ghastly white teeth, tilting its head as it grinned at us. Grandma was so terrified she jumped on the spot. "Filthy little thing, daring to invade dreams and harm people. Take this from your granny's pipe." With that, Great-granny swung her pipe down hard on the little ghost's head. The ghost shrieked in pain and lunged at Great-granny like a mad beast. I rushed forward to help, but before I could get close, the surrounding darkness seemed to tear apart like fabric. Drenched in sweat, I jolted awake in bed, my chest feeling as if a massive stone were pressing down on it. At the same time, a metallic taste filled my throat, and a mouthful of dark blood sprayed directly onto the quilt. Before I could react, I saw the bedroom door being opened, the fluorescent light stabbing my eyes with intense pain. My parents walked in with Kathy. "Vivian, are you okay? Did you have a nightmare? We heard you screaming just now." I didn't react immediately, just stared nervously at Kathy. "How did you get into my house?" In the middle of the night, Kathy appeared in my home, and then the little ghost from my dreams suddenly attacked my great-grandmother. There must be something strange going on. Kathy sat nervously on the edge of my bed, looking tense. "It was your uncle and aunt who called me, asking if you've been under too much pressure at school lately. I thought you've been acting a bit off these past couple of days, so I wanted to come over and talk with you." Back when I was close with Kathy, her neighborhood wasn't far from mine, so we often visited each other's homes. Sweat poured down my forehead as I just stared at her warily, but Kathy kept talking to herself. "I noticed you seemed to be trapped in a dream just now. constantly calling out for your great-grandma. Has someone who passed away recently visited you in your dreams? I've heard this can be very bad for the living, and I'm worried it might affect your college entrance exams." My parents quickly nodded in agreement. "That's right, Vivian has been offering incense to her great-grandma these past 2 days. I thought it was strange. What a terrible idea. It must be your great-grandma haunting you in your dreams." Kathy, sharp-eyed, suddenly glanced at my neck and shrieked, "What's that on your neck?" "It looks like finger marks." I pulled open my clothes and indeed found a few finger marks near my neck, but these were clearly left by the little ghost from my dream. Kathy suddenly started babbling mysteriously to my parents. "It must be Vivian's great-grandmother who loved her so much when she was alive that she keeps visiting her in dreams, but a living person's energy can't withstand this drain. Uncle, aunt, maybe you should burn some incense for her and ask her to stop haunting Vivian in her dreams." My father's face darkened, and my mother was also terrified when she saw the dark handprint on my neck. "Vivian's dad, look at how the child has been tormented by the old lady. I told you we shouldn't have kept great-grandma's ashes at home. Hurry up and drive them back to the countryside tonight." My father nodded, thinking it made sense. I got anxious and shouted, "No, you can't send great-grandma away. She didn't appear in my dreams. She didn't harm my parents. How can you be so superstitious? That's my great-grandma. Would she ever hurt me?" "Kathy, stop talking nonsense. What's gotten into you so late at night? Just go home already." I don't dare to offend Kathy right now. She has a little ghost under her control, and now she's in my house. What if she uses it to harm my parents? Kathy suddenly looked at me with a cold smile. "Do you still have the yellow talisman I gave you?" Afraid Kathy might suspect me, I quickly pulled it out from under my pillow to show her, proving I'd been wearing it all along. Kathy finally smiled and left. No matter what I said afterward, my father insisted on taking Grandma's ashes back to our hometown. Unable to stop him, I had to find another way. For the rest of the night, no matter how I slept, Grandma never appeared in my dreams again. The next day, I arrived at school with a heavy heart. Meanwhile, Kathy looked increasingly pale, with dark circles under her eyes, appearing utterly exhausted. In contrast, Hank, perhaps because of Kathy's help, seemed refreshed and full of energy every day. Feigning concern, I patted Kathy on the right shoulder. "Kathy, have you been under too much stress these past couple of days? Last night was really tough for you to come all the way to my place. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have known that being visited by the dead in dreams is a bad omen. I haven't forgotten what Grandma told me before she left last night." I broke Kathy's little ghost spell, and it needs to absorb a lot of energy these 2 days. Kathy doesn't have much spiritual power. After being drained of so much energy in a row, her body is almost at its limit. Every person carries a yang lamp on their shoulders and the top of their head. Because Kathy had been raising a child spirit, the yang lamp on her left shoulder had long been extinguished. Just moments ago, I deliberately tapped her right shoulder from behind, extinguishing the yang lamp on that side as well. At this moment, her eyes glazed over for a few seconds before she managed to force a weak smile at me. "I'm fine, maybe just a little cold. By the way, how are you feeling today? Make sure to review the key points thoroughly these days so you can perform well in the college entrance exam. Don't dwell on your great-grandmother's matter anymore." I sneered inwardly, still not forgetting about stealing my brain. As if reviewing well would just pave the way for her benefit. I immediately said I was in great shape and casually added, "Has something good happened to Hank these past couple of days? He seems so refreshed and more focused in class than usual. Could it be that your high school talisman is also protecting him?" Upon hearing my words, Kathy instinctively glanced at Hank. She noticed him laughing and chatting with a girl at the back of the classroom. Kathy's expression darkened instantly, and she crumpled the test paper in her hand with irritation. "I worked myself to death raising that thing, and look at him, he's got the energy to flirt with other girls." Seeing Kathy's attention completely drawn to Hank, I pretended to have just thought of something and spoke up. "Kathy, don't know if I should tell you this, but I've noticed Hank acting a bit strange these past couple days. He asked me for some of your personal belongings. Do you think he likes you? Maybe he's too scared to confess directly, so he's getting your things through me instead." It took Kathy a moment to process this. Her eyes darted around before she fixed me with a dark, piercing stare and said, "He took something of mine." "What did you give him?" "Nothing much, just a bracelet made from your hair. He said anything would do, and I couldn't resist his pleading, so I gave it to him." This made Kathy completely lose her temper. "That bracelet was made from my hair." I pretended to be clueless and replied, "Right, it's yours, because Hank wanted yours." I saw online before that some people would use their crush's hair to cast spells or curses, and the cursed person would be devoted to them wholeheartedly. You've been acting off these past few days. Could it be that Hank really put some kind of curse on you? Kathy panicked. Damn it, how could you give him that bracelet? That was something I gave you. At this point, she didn't bother arguing with me anymore and rushed straight to the back of the classroom. Grabbing Hank by the collar and shaking him like crazy. What are you doing taking my things? I knew it. You're up to no good. You can't stand to see me get into a good school, can you? Are you trying to sabotage me, make me do all the work for you? Hank, seeing this, was so frightened that he immediately covered Kathy's mouth and dragged her out of the classroom. The classmates in the classroom were all confused. I, however, stood there as if watching a show. It's always entertaining to see dogs bite dogs. As soon as the two left, I immediately went to Kathy's desk. After rummaging through it, I indeed found a palm-sized jar. Inside was an unknown powder. Could this jar be the urn containing the spirit's ashes? Suppressing my excitement, I quickly poured the little ghost's ashes into a plastic bag and secretly stuffed it into my pocket. Then I went to the school store and bought over a dozen packets of milk tea to fill the bag with. Apart from the slightly strong artificial flavor, there wasn't the slightest flaw to be seen. Just at that moment, a sharp woman's voice came from behind me. What are you doing, Vivian? Kathy and Hank are back. It's break time now, and there's hardly anyone left in the classroom. She dashed over quickly. Seeing this, I immediately grabbed the urn in front of me and raised it above my head. Don't come any closer, or I'll smash this thing and see how you can harm anyone. As I said this, I frantically signaled to Hank with my eyes. Hank, come here quick. You were right. Kathy really was trying to harm me. This must be the urn of that little ghost you mentioned, right? I found it. Hank stood there looking utterly confused. What nonsense are you talking about? When did I ever mention anything about the kid to you? I continued with my act. Stop pretending. The cat's out of the bag. If you hadn't told me about this, how could I have found it? Don't worry. I won't blame you for this. It was all Kathy's plan. Kathy was instantly furious. She turned around and glared at Hank beside her. Fine, so you actually told her about this, and deliberately took my hair to ask for my spell, so you and her were plotting against me all along. Hank found himself unable to explain clearly and realized I was framing him, so he anxiously said, Kathy, don't listen to her nonsense. She's deliberately trying to drive a wedge between us. Quickly command the little ghost to subdue her now. Kathy looked suspiciously at Hank, then at the urn in my hands, before finally saying gloomily, Vivian, put down what you're holding. I held the urn in my hands, tossing it from my left to my right playfully, and said deliberately, Is that so? Hank told me something different. He said you cast a spell on me, trying to make me fail the college entrance exam, and asked me to steal the urn. He also claimed that breaking it would break your magic. Kathy's expression remained unchanged. She slowly approached me and sneered, Stop pretending, Vivian. Don't think I don't know what you've been up to these days. You've known about this all along, haven't you? Who told you? Hank wouldn't dare. Was it that old hag in your family? If I hadn't been cautious and sent a little ghost to spy on your dreams, I wouldn't have known you were plotting so much. As she spoke, her hands suddenly reached out, trying to snatch the urn from my grasp. Seeing that she clearly knew everything, that she had deliberately set this up last night, I let go on purpose, and the urn fell straight to the ground, shattering into pieces. Kathy's face twisted in fury as she frantically threw herself onto the floor, desperately trying to gather the scattered ashes. It's over, it's all over, Vivian. Her eyes were bloodshot as she glared at me. I said with an innocent expression, This is the first time I've seen someone turn the tables like this. Clearly, you were the one trying to harm me, and now you're blaming me instead. Kathy's face alternated between dark and pale. She stood there as if having an epileptic fit, and after a long while, suddenly sprang to her feet, shouting, Vivian, you forced me to do this. I just wanted to take away your achievements. You're so smart. You can still get good grades in next year's college entrance exam. As a good friend, what's the big deal if you sacrifice a little for me? So what if you found out that old hag from your family has already been sent away? Now, no one can help you. As she spoke, she pulled out a pencil sharpener from the nearby desk and gripped it firmly in her hand. Blood immediately began to slowly trickle from the palm of her hand. She smiled darkly. You forced my hand. Do you think destroying the urn will let you escape my curse? She yanked out the talisman hanging from her chest and let the blood from her hand drip onto it. Suddenly, a dark, skinny ghostly figure emerged from the talisman. The little ghost had an enormous head, With pitch-black eyes greedily fixed on the blood on Kathy's hand, it was now clinging to her arm, frantically sucking. As it drank her blood, the ghost's dark form seemed to grow slightly larger. Meanwhile, Kathy appeared to age rapidly, looking as if she had aged over a decade in just one night. Hank was so scared that he hid aside and shouted, "Kathy, don't act impulsively." But Kathy seemed not to hear him, just staring at me with hatred. "Since you refuse to cooperate, I'll have the ghost child possess your body right now. The effect will be the same anyway, after the college entrance exams. I'll use your scores to get into a good university, while you'll be drained of your life essence by the parasitic demon and die." "Hank, what are you standing there for? Hold her down for me." Hank gritted his teeth and rushed over. The two of them pinned me to the ground from either side, leaving me completely unable to move. At that moment, Kathy crouched down, grabbed a handful of the scattered ashes from the floor, and shoved them into my mouth. I was utterly stunned before I could react. A handful of ashes was shoved into my mouth. To be precise, it was milk tea powder, sweet and cloying, a bit overpowering. Kathy, however, went into a frenzy. "If you eat the ashes of the ghost child, you'll be parasitized and become a soulless shell. At that point, even if I told you to die, you'd obediently comply." My mind was utterly blown. Thankfully, I had switched the ashes beforehand. The ghost child's ashes might have that terrifying effect, but I'm pretty sure milk tea powder doesn't. If there is any, it should be patentable. Sure enough, I swallowed several handfuls of milk tea powder in a row, choking until tears nearly streamed down my face. Only then did Kathy relent, ordering the little ghost to crawl inside my body. The little ghost gave me a sinister glance before crawling toward me on all fours, its icy little hands already gripping my ankle. My heart was in my throat, and I kept shouting, "Great-grandma, great-grandma, save me," as soon as the words left my mouth. Two dark figures stood beside me, one on the left and one on the right. One of them was dressed entirely in white, the other was dressed entirely in black. Two dark figures stood before me, chains in hand, casting a fleeting glance in my direction. I was utterly shocked. Could these be the connections my late grandmother summoned from the underworld for me? Wait, ghostly connections, isn't this the Grim Reaper Black-White? The little ghost was frozen in place by the aura of the Grim Reaper Black-White. Standing there dumbfounded, unsure of what to do, Kathy and Hank seemed unable to see the presence of the Grim Reaper Black-White. Seeing the little ghost frozen, Kathy scolded, "Hurry up and possess her body. Why are you just standing there like an idiot?" The little ghost had grievances it couldn't voice. With the chains of death Black-White already wrapped around its neck, even if it wanted to move, it couldn't. Kathy cursed under her breath, calling it useless. Meanwhile, I slipped my hand into my pocket. With the connections from my great-grandmother, my confidence soared. I rubbed my hands together, grabbed a handful of ashes from my pocket, and as Kathy opened her mouth to curse, I stood up and shoved the ashes into her mouth, forcing her to swallow by clamping her jaw shut. She didn't react in time, choking on the ashes and coughing violently. "What did you just feed her?" Hank wanted to help Kathy hold me back. I quickly pulled out another one and stuffed it into his mouth. "Don't worry, you get one too." Hank realized something and tried to spit it out, but it was already too late. Each of them had a mouthful of ashes, none left idle. Only after I finished all this did I quickly scramble to my feet, standing far away from the two of them, and said, "Tasty, that's the real ashes of the little ghost, sugar-free. No need to worry about diabetes." The two of them realized something and frantically stuck their fingers down their throats, trying to vomit. I shook my head and sighed, "Don't throw up, since you both love raising little ghosts so much. Isn't this me helping you fulfill your wish? I already told you it's feudal superstition, eating it will at most give you diarrhea. So what's the big deal, right?" Kathy was so angry her eyes rolled back. Hank tightly gripped Kathy's hand. "Hurry, get the little ghost to deal with her." Kathy was also anxious. This little ghost suddenly froze for some reason and is completely useless. Could it be that there's not enough blood to control it? I secretly laughed to myself. It's not that there's not enough blood, it's that I'm standing next to two big-shot figures. When the little ghost saw them, how could it dare to move? Hank got anxious. "Then what will happen to us since we just ate the ghost child's ashes?" Kathy turned pale and after a long while said, "The little demon will possess both of us until it drains us dry of blood." Hank was furious and immediately crawled over to me. "Save me, I don't want to die. That little demon was raised by Kathy, and she's the one who wanted to harm you. I was coerced by her from start to finish." I shook my head. "I can't help it either. I'm just giving them a taste of their own medicine." Kathy refused to believe it was hopeless. This time, she directly cut her own arm, and even more blood flowed out. She continued to command the little ghost, but the ghost could only shed empty tears at the sight of the blood flowing from her arm, powerless to act, because at that moment, the two big bosses of death, Black-White, had already shackled the little ghost with chains, ready to take it away in one swift motion. Kathy's face was as pale as a sheet from excessive blood loss, muttering to herself, "This can't be right. Why isn't it working? I did everything exactly as the forum said, so why isn't it working? Was I tricked?" Seeing that both were no longer a threat, I finally let out a sigh of relief and shakily bowed to the Grim Reapers. Black-White, thank you both for your help. Black-White didn't even acknowledge me, just stared coldly at me for a long while. "If it weren't for the hefty sum your great-grandma paid, we wouldn't have made this trip. All right, clean up this mess yourself. We're out of here." With that, the two underworld enforcers seized the little ghost's soul and took it away. Before leaving, White glanced at Kathy. "Your time hasn't come yet. We won't take you for now, but in a few days, we'll come for your soul." At this moment, Kathy seemed to see the Grim Reaper, Black-White. She froze completely. After a long while, she dashed out of the classroom like a madwoman. After the little ghost was taken away by the Grim Reaper, Black-White, I followed my great-grandmother's instructions and found a Taoist temple to pour all of the little ghost's ashes into the incense burner. Consider it a form of liberation. The black palm print on my chest took several days to fade. The day before the college entrance exams, I bought a large bundle of spirit money and burned it for my late great-grandmother underground, murmuring, "Thank you for your protection, great-grandma, and for your connections that saved your great-granddaughter's miserable life." That night, my late grandmother appeared in my dream and said, "Next time, burn some gold ingots. Spirit money, large bills aren't in circulation down here." Later, on the day of the college entrance exam, I performed exceptionally well. I heard Kathy didn't take the exam. She was hospitalized due to illness. Her family took her to several hospitals, but none could identify the root cause of her illness. But she was completely out of her mind, constantly screaming that the Grim Reaper Black-White was coming to take her soul. Her family had no choice but to admit her to a psychiatric hospital. As for Hank, due to the incident before the college entrance exams, he performed extremely poorly and didn't even score enough to get into a vocational college. Right after the college entrance exam, he went straight to work in a factory tightening screws. Later on, I heard he flirted with a few female workers at the factory and got his legs broken when their husbands found out. When the exam results came out, I was the only top scorer in the city. My family threw a huge banquet, and everyone said our ancestors' graves must have been smoking with good fortune. Only I know, it's the smoke rising from great-grandma's grave, because great-grandma's smoking inside. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.